Chicago Title, and I am part of the Arizona Title Girls. So we are a group of 3 women. It's Deidre, Vanessa, and myself. We've been in the business for a total of, between all of us, 20 years. Yeah. Anyways, without further ado, I'll make it really quick.
Yeah.
This is Lindsay. She's our marketing guru, director, all the things.
All the things, yeah. Thanks, sis. So, yeah, like she mentioned, Lindsay Sanchez, I'm the Director of Marketing at Chicago Title. I'm here every 4th Wednesday of the month, bringing you whatever is the latest and greatest in digital marketing and social media. So, Threads is the newest, latest thing that has come out since July 5th. July 5th was the first day that Threads was available to download. How many of you guys have Threads?
Have what?
Do you have the Threads app yet?
Threads app. No.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Great. This is going to be good then, because you're going to learn a lot. And the thing with Threads, because it's so new, right? So it came out July 5th, 3 weeks old. Because it's so new, there's so many things constantly changing. So every time I'm doing this presentation, I have something new to say, which is great. So today we're going to talk about what is it. A lot of people have said it is essentially the same experience as Twitter. So what's the difference between Twitter versus Threads? How do you use it? And then updates to it, like I mentioned, every week there's new things coming out. So what's new? And then lastly, we're going to kind of pair it with when you use it, how does that work with Instagram's algorithm? All right, so what is it? Threads is a new app built by the Instagram team at Meta, and think of this app as a public conversation app. It is a place where there's conversations. It's a big public forum, right? And so a lot of people have been struggling with, okay, well, Instagram has so many features. Why would I use this versus, Instagram has a new thing called Notes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Instagram Notes. Where you can write little short messages as well. Well, Notes is only around for 24 hours. This particular thread can live on forever and ever. It's going to stay on your profile for eternity until you delete it. And Threads is going to be seen in front of a wider audience, in front of the entire public, versus with the Notes, it's only for your group of friends, your followers. It's more specific, and like I said, it's only there for 24 hours, whereas this can be there for forever, and the goal is to just build conversation, to talk back and forth with people, just to keep the brand awareness alive, build some relationships online. So those are some of the differences of why you would use Threads versus using the Notes, which is also a text-driven piece within Instagram. Okay, so the big hot topic with Threads is how fast people caught on to it. So I told you July 5th is when it came out. By July 10th, it already had 100 million users. And right, I know, the number's crazy. It had not even been released to that many countries too, right? The United States was one of a handful of countries that got it first. Europe still does not have access. Many Europe countries does not have access to this still. But yeah, 100 million users within 5 days. Now, before July 5th, when I would talk about, what's the fastest growing app, I would say ChatGPT. ChatGPT was by far the fastest. It had held that record for a few months, and it reached 100 million users in 2 months. So when ChatGPT is second place, and 2 months, everyone was like, oh my god, 100 million users in 2 months, that's crazy. And then all of a sudden Threads comes along, and it's 100 million users in 5 days. It was mind-blowing, and Meta/Instagram, they were not prepared, or they were not expecting that many users to take on, they were not expecting that many people to download it that quickly. And then I just put, for honorable mention at the bottom, TikTok is the 3rd fastest growing app, and it reached 100 million users in 9 months. So you can kind of see the difference, 9 months, 2 months, 5 days, right? Very fast. So I want to dive into what are some of the things you really need to know about this app and why you would want to use it. So number one, as we just mentioned, 100 million users in less than a week. the audience is already there. So if you think about, all right, if we're just wanting to compare this to another app right now, let's say we want to compare it to Twitter. If you were to start fresh on Twitter right now, you'd have to grow your audience. Now with Threads is connected to your Instagram account. They are connected with the same login, different apps, right? Instagram, Threads, different apps, same company, but the same account. Kind of hard to wrap your head around that one. But since it's the same account, all of your followers on Instagram can also be your followers on Threads. So it's nice that you can translate, let's say you've got 500 followers in one place, you can move all those same followers to Threads as long as they're also on the app, right? That's kind of the caveat there. But it's nice to have the audience already there. And we know, because at this point there's over 150 million users since then. There's already a lot of people. Another thing to note here is that there is about 1/5 of Twitter's active users, weekly active users, 1/5 of Twitter's users, there are already that many people on Threads. So Threads is growing a lot quicker than Twitter ever has or had done. The problem with Twitter is that it has reached a plateau, right? It was about 2010 that it kind of hit a plateau of growth. And in the last 5 years or so, it has grown a little bit more. But Twitter hadn't really grown all that much. It just wasn't in the best leadership hands, so they didn't really know how to solve certain pain points. And it seemed like Twitter was a place where people would go to argue, right? So there was a lot of toxicity within Twitter where I'm sure Instagram will get there, and I'm sure that will happen, but Instagram has a better understanding they have a better growth plan, and their goal, Threads' goal is to reach up 1 billion users. They already have 1 billion on Instagram and Facebook, so we know we already have 1 billion users on Instagram. We can get those same people to come over to Threads. So they're working out those kinks, and it'll take a little bit of time. But yeah, point one, audience is already there. Lots of people on Threads. Number 2 is, here's how it's different from Twitter, is your character limit when you're writing your thread can be up to 500 characters long. That's almost double Twitter's 280 character limit. So it's nice that you can write a little bit more. When I was first writing my first thread, I had something in mind, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna fit. And I'm typing away, and it's still letting me go, and I was like, okay, this is great, it's infinite, right? But it's nice to have it a little bit longer. It makes it easier because, let's say the character limit was back to that 280, then you kind of have to break it up into multiple. You're like, okay, well, I'll put part 1 of what I want to say on thread number 1, part 2 on thread number 2, and it breaks it up, and it makes it a little harder for people to find the full summary of what you're trying to say. So it's nice to have it all in one place. Number 3, easy to interact. So the way that you interact with people within Threads has the same functionality. The buttons are the same as you would use in Instagram. So if you're already familiar with Instagram or some other social media apps, really, you're going to be familiar with how to use Threads. Example. So here's how you would interact. Here's Zuckerberg's first thread. It says, let's do this, welcome to Threads, right? And you see the 4 action icons below, the heart, to like it, right? We are all familiar with a heart will like the post. The next one is a quote bubble, which will allow you to respond directly to it. It's having that conversation. And then the next one is it's newer, so you may not be familiar with the repost. So if I wanted to reshare what he's already said, I have the option to repost it, and I can share it. I also, in addition to that, have the option to quote it. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like. But I could, let's say, I wanted to reshare this, but I also want to add my own commentary. And I wanted to say, who else is excited for Threads, right? I can repost and quote at the same time with my own thoughts. And then the last one on the right is the paper airplane. So that's if you want to share this somewhere else. You can share it to Instagram post or story. You can put it as a tweet, which I think is very interesting. I think it's kind of a slap in the face to Twitter, but you can reshare it to Twitter if you wanted to. You can copy the link and you can send it directly to somebody as an external link through a text message. But yeah, you can paper airplane, you can share it to others. So it's pretty user friendly on how to interact with different threads. Number 4, we just talked about this, cross posting. So you can cross post between Threads and Instagram. It makes it really easy because, like I said, it's the same account. It's the same login information. They're connected. So if you want to share your Threads to Instagram, simple. I want you to note, if you are going to do that, the Threads team has not come out with a simple way to toggle back and forth multiple accounts. Example, on my phone right now, I have multiple Instagram accounts that I'm managing. I manage my own, Lynn Sanchez. I manage Chicago Title Arizona. So I have 2 different accounts. If you have 2 different accounts, you have to be careful which one you're logged into. It doesn't easily let you change back and forth yet. So notice right here, I'm sharing a thread that it's kind of hard to see, but it was posted by me, right? I created this thread. It was being posted to the Chicago
Is the
Title
light behind
page.
you?
Oh yeah, good call. So it was posted by me, and then I was about to share it to Chicago Title. So you have to be cautious about which one you're sharing to. But another thing to note is you can't edit it. So once I'm sharing it, I can't edit what the verbiage is of it. I can add to it, like I could put a GIF on here, I could put stickers, I could draw, I could write additional text, but I can't edit what any of that says. So that's just something to note.
So, like,
Yeah.
you have a typo or whatever, you cannot correct it
No,
whatsoever.
and at this point, there's no edit feature. You would have to delete it and then just do it
Yeah,
again.
same thing with Instagram, you just have to,
Yeah.
I typo all the time.
So, but that
I'll
is,
say.
we'll get there. That is pretty high on their wish list of things that they're working on, and they're coming out with new releases every single week. So I'm hopeful within the next couple months that will be available, probably sooner.
And when this is posted on your story,
Yeah.
can you change which account you want to post this to from here? Or do you have
No.
to go back, switch
You have
the
to go
account,
back,
and go to
switch.
Threads?
Yep.
And then, okay.
Yep, and that's another thing on the wish list that's high up there, what they want to do, because it's a pain in the butt right now switching which account you're working from. So no, not yet. All right, number 5. This is a good thing. If you paid whatever the monthly fee is to be verified on Instagram, that translates over to Threads. So that little blue check mark next to your name, that will come with you. You don't have to do it a second time. As a reminder, what that is, I'm not 100% on the monthly fee right now, but the monthly fee you pay, let's say it's $10 a month. It gives you the blue check mark next to your name. It gives you access to a higher level of support through, like, let's say you got locked out of your account or someone hacked it. You're supposed to kind of have priority to work with that support team.
Makes you look important too.
It does until you know that just anyone can pay for it, and then I'm just like, where's the exclusivity in that, right? If anyone and everyone can pay. But if you have it on one, it will carry through. With that being said, it allows you, I'm sure you guys have seen through Instagram, lots of fake accounts have been made, right? Where people will take someone's photos, they'll make, instead of Lynn Sanchez, maybe it's Lynn Sanchez 1 or something like that, right? Where they'll kind of make a dupe account and try to be somebody else. Well, it's nice with Threads because it's connected to your Instagram. You can switch quickly back and forth from my Instagram profile to my Threads profile, and they're connected. So as soon as I tap on Threads, it should take me back to the real Lynn Sanchez. And if it doesn't go to the real Lynn Sanchez, you know that's a fake account. So it's easier to spot those fake accounts with Threads because the profiles are connected. For now, this is really nice. This is going to change, but enjoy using the app. There's no ads in there right now. And I know that's going to change within probably the next month. There will be ads in there. They're going to monetize. But for now, there's no ads, so it's a really nice place to be. And then lastly, this is a con. This is a con, not a pro like the last 7. Deleting your Threads account will delete your Instagram account. That's something to know. Yeah, that's a big one to know. All right.
Why didn't you start with that before I just added?
I know. Right.
Exactly.
So, well, okay, we'll talk about this for a second. So, since Threads is powered by Instagram, if you were to go in and delete your Threads account, it would, because it's connected, it would be deleting Instagram too. However, you can deactivate. So what I could do is I could go into my Threads, I could deactivate, and it will temporarily hide my Threads account, right? And then as soon as I log back in, my Threads account will be back up. So if that was the case, if that's what you wanted to do, make sure you deactivate, you don't delete, right? So deactivate is your workaround. However, Adam Mosseri, he is the head of Instagram, he has said, we are working, that's the last line over here, we are looking into a way to delete your Threads account. I want to tell you guys, the Threads app came out way too soon. They were actually not planning on launching this app until end of 2023, beginning of 2024. The reason they launched it in the middle of the summer is there was a hole within Twitter's, workflow, and the API, their application integration wasn't working. There was just a lot of problems arising with Twitter, so they're like, we're jumping on this. We know that that's our bigger competition with this app, so we're going to jump on this and hope that people come to Threads because of that. Because they jumped on it so quickly, there's a lot of little things that are missing within Threads, this being one of them. So they know that this is a problem. He stated that's something they're working on, but I just want you guys to know, don't delete your Threads, right? Deactivate it. If you were like, I don't want this anymore, deactivate it, don't delete. Any questions on that? Yeah, good to know. All right, so how do we get started? I want to note that right now it's only available as an app, right? So it's only an app on your phone. You can't use it on the desktop at this point. So you would have to go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and download the Threads app. It is free. Number 2, create your account. So the nice thing is that because it's the same account as Instagram, you can, with the one click of a button, translate everything to move over. So if you want the same profile photo, bio, followers, if you want all of that to stick with you, you can easily move it over. But if you're like, you know what, I want to start fresh, there's a lot of people that I'm following on here that I don't necessarily want to follow on Threads, you can start over and you can pick and choose. Oh, I want to follow him and her, but not these people, right? And another thing to think about is Instagram following versus Threads following is going to be different, because maybe there's some accounts on Instagram you follow strictly for the videos, right? If you've ever seen like the Tasty account where they do videos of them creating different food recipes, right? How is that going to translate into text? Is that something you would necessarily want to follow in the text version? Same thing with like if there's like some architecture or interior design accounts you follow where it's like it's really nice to look at, but how does that translate into the text thread, right? So yes, you can just quickly, easily, that's what I did. I decided to just follow all the same people that I'm already following, or you can pick and choose. I just mentioned this. You can take your existing Instagram information, your photo, your name, your bio, and your website. All of that that's currently on your Instagram page, that will translate over to your Threads account. Privacy, your next step is you're going to choose, do you want a public profile, private? If we're using this for business purposes, we all want to make sure we have a public profile. We want to be found, we want to have reach. We want to be able to engage with other people. So I definitely recommend having a public profile. Those privacy settings, they're the exact same as Instagram. We talked about the following. Who are you going to follow? And then lastly, you just have to agree to their terms of use, which I'm sure somewhere in there it says, if you're deleting your Threads account, it deletes your Instagram. So I read that for you guys. So now you guys know. But it's really, I've got 6 steps up in here, or up right here. It's about 60 seconds max to get started on the Threads app. All right, now I told you everyone's comparing Threads to Twitter, so what are some of our differences? On the left, Threads, So 500 characters versus Twitter's 280 characters. Can you put links? Can you put links in your text? Yes, you can do that on both, which is really nice because in an Instagram caption, if I were to put a link in there, it's just text. It's not hyperlinked. I can't click on it, right? In Threads, you can. Photos, you can do photos on both. Videos, so on Threads, you can do a video up to 5 minutes. On Twitter, you can do a video 2 minutes and 20 seconds is your max. Does the verification come with it? Yes. On Threads, Twitter, there's actually something called Twitter Blue, which is another paid version of it where you can get verified. Delete your post. Yes, you can delete your post. Edit. You can edit. We talked about that. You can't edit once you've published it. If you have a spelling error and you want to fix that, you have to delete and then you can edit. Direct messaging. So that's something that Threads is working on. Twitter has it. Threads doesn't. You can't send any DMs. Hashtags. Another thing. Hashtags don't work yet on Threads. So if I were to put hashtag Phoenix Real Estate, it wouldn't hyperlink, right? It would just be text with the tag in front of it.
Are they going to change that?
Yeah, that's on their to-do list. So that is something different that Twitter does have at the moment. Threads does not. A lot of these things where you see the no's, edit posts, direct messaging, hashtags, those are on their to-do list. They're just not there yet. All right, some content ideas. All right, what are we gonna put in this Threads text-based conversation app? What are we putting in here? Now, I need to change this slide actually because at the very top, I do put photos and videos. I actually want to move those towards the bottom. I don't think those are nearly as important because you can already do photos and videos in Instagram. We want to kind of give followers a reason. Why do they need to follow me on Threads if they're already following me on Instagram? If you're just putting the same stuff that's already on Instagram and you're just putting it on Threads, there's no reason for them to follow you on both, right? So yes, you can put photos and videos, but don't just treat it like another Instagram account. That's not the purpose of it. So direct links, we talked about that. Adding in GIFs, lists and tips. Lists and tips are great. And remember, you have 500 characters that you can use, so there is space to put some of those in there. Quoting others and putting your own thoughts on that. Asking questions. Questions is going to be the best way for you guys to warrant engagement. So always ask questions. Personal experiences, if you want to, tell a story, you have that extra space to do so. Talking about news and trends, updates and announcements. So let me show you what that looks like. Here's some ideas. This is a little small to see, but I wanted to go through some of these. At the top left up here, I'll read this to you since you probably can't see all this, but essentially this particular individual said, I need a new TV series to watch, like Breaking Bad and Prison Break, etc. Help. Netflix decided to reshare it and give their commentary. Ozarks, La Casa de Papel, Narcos, right? So they're giving suggestions, having that conversation, promoting their own shows that they've created, but that is taking somebody else's, reposting it and quoting and saying, all right, if you like Breaking Bad and Prison Break, you're also going to like these shows, right? The one below, this is Ryan Serhant out of New York. He says, if this was a video that he shared, but he said, these are the views from a $250 million penthouse at Central Park Tower. Wild that it's that much money. But so, right, that's a video. That's an example of how you use a video. Gary Vee, he did just a simple question, best cereal of all time, right? So simple, not like anything groundbreaking, but it had over 1,100 people respond to it, so it created conversation around it. The next is, remember we talked about having news or updates if you had anything to maybe share about a new listing that's coming soon, or any status updates to one of your listings. Breaking news, DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Titans. That's the news that the NFL team posted. Down here, Nordstrom tried to get engaging while there was the anniversary sale last week, and they said, how does the anniversary sale make you feel? Use only emojis. And so then they responded to themselves, and I'll show you guys how to do that. They responded to themselves and then they put the emojis that they feel when they're shopping the anniversary sale. Up here, this is an example of if you put in a link, right? So this particular page, Scottsdale Airs, there's no O-N-A at the end, so it's like Airs. Scottsdale Airs said, if you are looking for things to do in Scottsdale this summer, check out this link. And so basically it directs you to a place that has 40 fun summer activities to do. On this one's engaging. It says tag 3 women you're thinking about this week. Down here, HGTV says describe your decorating style in only movie titles. That's kind of fun. Here's a meme one. The broke agent says, when the buyer and seller are both super rational and the deal closes on time without one instance of conflict. And it says the phenomenon only occurs once every 257 years, right? So that's the meme. Funny. And then lastly, Gordon Ramsay says, I think you know mine, but what's yours? Pineapple on pizza, ? And he goes, it's a no for me. So that one had nearly 1,000 responses too. Obviously they have a bit of a larger audience, but you can see how very simple things, questions, having these prompts for questions, news and updates, videos, something short, sweet. The memes I think are hilarious, links, that hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea of what kind of stuff people are putting on Threads right now.
Do you recommend quote replying to people or just replying to their?
I think quote replying, because by you adding in your own commentary, I think that gives people another reason usually to respond to something else. Because if I'm just quoting, let's say I was just quoting one of these, maybe they're just going to respond back to Boss Babe Inc., right? They're going to respond back to that people. But if I put my own spin on it, hopefully they're replying to me, right?
Right, okay.
So I think it's better to, if you do have something to share with it, I think it's better to do the quote.
So when you just respond to someone's thread, does it show on your profile?
No. Yes, it does. It doesn't. I'll pull it. I'm going to pull up my phone here in a second. It doesn't default to show, but there is a section where it says replies, where I can see anything I've replied to, and it will show if you're a public account. If you're a private, it won't. But it doesn't default to show that.
Okay.
Then I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so we talked about updates. What's coming next? So this is the one that came out yesterday, the following feed. So the big issue with Threads that people were complaining about first and foremost was, there's a few issues, but the first one people were complaining about was they were in this feed and they're like, I don't follow these people. Like, why am I seeing all these random things that I don't know who this is, right? And so now Threads has created two feeds. One is all the people you follow in chronological order, which I really like. Number 2 is what they suggest. They think you would like this. Oh, well, Lindsay liked this one, particular sports post, so we think she's going to also like this, right? So there's the suggested, and then there's the people you're actually following. So there's 2 feeds now. So that little check mark, that has been done as of yesterday. What else is coming? This is what they have suggested is next on their list. Editing, so being able to edit after the fact. Having multiple accounts and being able to easily switch back and forth between the two. Searching for posts. So right now, if I was like, okay, you know what, I really want to learn about Threads within the Threads app, right? Right now I don't have a place to search and look for people's threads related to Threads. Whereas Twitter, if I wanted to, figure out, let's say, I always do this on Twitter when there's big sports news coming out and they're like, oh, we watch a play on TV and someone gets injured. You're like, are they really injured? I don't know. I go to Twitter first to figure out what's the news saying first, right? And so there's nowhere to search at this moment. Hashtags, web presence. Meaning, right now it's only an app, right? You can only use the app on your phone. There's not a website, Instagram.com/ChicagoTitleAZ. That doesn't exist. So there's no web presence right now. There's nowhere to show what you've liked in the past. So maybe I want to see, I really liked that one. There's one actually yesterday that I like. Chris Hemsworth, and I don't follow him. It just popped up on the suggested. Chris Hemsworth was doing a workout, and he listed what his set was for that workout routine. And I was like, oh, I really like that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to save it. And I'm like, wait, I have no way to save it and refer back to it later. So that's something they're working on. And then lastly, direct messages. So if you want to have something, a more private conversation, they don't have access to that. So I mentioned each week they're coming out with new updates, and so far they're stayed true to that. So we'll see how that follows through. But as of now, this one is checked off the list as of yesterday. The rest of them still to come. Now I'm going to, on that TV over there, on the far, your right, I'm going to display what the app looks like, so that way you guys can kind of see. Sorry, a lot of you guys are on this right side, so it makes it difficult. So you guys can see what it looks like being in Threads. All right, so this is a visual of what it looks like. Right now, wash your car so we can get some rain. Let's do this together. I think that's hilarious. So, all right, here's a good example. If I wanted to reshare this, I have the option at the bottom. I can reshare, and I can either repost it, and I'm just resharing what Arizona Family said, or I can quote it and reshare it. So I'm going to quote it, and I'm going to say, when was the last time you washed your car? Today is the day. Right? So I put my own little spin on it, my own commentary, and I'm going to post it. And I'm resharing what Arizona Family just said. This is funny. Has anyone seen the Barbie movie yet? No? Okay, well then this is not going to be funny to you. But this little HGTV bit, it's pretty funny. It's a little joke with the movie. Okay, so right now, I can tell you, alright, there's some accounts in here that I don't follow. And so I'm getting, the app is suggesting, okay, you're going to like this. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to like this. So what I want to do to make sure I'm only looking at people I follow is at the top, you see that little Threads icon at the top center? I'm going to click on that. And when I click on that, now I can toggle between the different feeds. So right now I'm on the For You, which is the suggested. And if I hit following, now I'm only going to be looking at the ones that I'm truly following. And it's in chronological order, which I really enjoy. So most recent, like this, that's funny. Most recent into, the latest, or the earliest, I should say. So that's what updated yesterday is toggling between these two feeds. Remember, by pressing that little icon at the top, that's kind of how you go back and forth between the two different feeds.
What if it doesn't show the two different feeds?
So did you hit that little icon at the top by chance? So like the
I had
little.
to close mine out and
Okay.
then re-go in because it wouldn't do for me.
Okay.
I've just created it, so maybe I don't.
Okay, and that's normal. So when there's new updates, Instagram, Facebook, whatever app it is, when there's new updates, it does take a little bit of time for every single user to get the updates. So some people, if your friend has got it before you, don't fret, unless it's like months later, then it's like, okay, why have I not gotten it yet? But this just released yesterday, so it might not be so strange that you don't have it yet. But yeah, at the very top center, when you click that little thread icon,
Okay.
You
didn't click
can-
the thread icon. Thank you.
yeah, perfect.
So, I obviously don't follow Subscriber Title AZ and Instagram, so.
Should.
I'm being transparent here. It's also hard to get to that thing at the top once you scroll down a little bit because it's hard to catch back up to it. It keeps loading.
Yes, yes, you're right.
The scroll up is not, the beginning was not where
Right.
it was when you started.
Right. Yes. At the bottom, so right now we're on that home icon, that far icon on the left. The next one is the magnifying glass. So within here, you could search for Chicago Title AZ, and you would be able to find our account. This is where you're able to find different people. If I decided I wanted to follow National Associations of Realtors, I could come in here, I could follow it. So this is just kind of that search section. The next icon at the bottom is if you want to begin to start your thread. Now, I can come in here. Remember, I have 500 characters that I can play around with. I can type here. I can include an attachment, so that little paper clip that's right below it, if I wanted to click on that, I can pull up, you know, an attachment, an image.
Clearly, someone was focused on the private movie.
Well, if you go to our Chicago Title Arizona page, you'll see the video that I made yesterday with all of
so cute.
It was really cute. Okay, so let's see if I wanted to attach that photo. Here it is right here. Now, I can also decide, here, let's see. I'm actually going to get rid of that really quick. If I wanted to post something and say, you know, what's your favorite pizza topping, right? Like, let's pretend that's what I want to say. And if I want to respond to myself, but I don't want to respond as a comment because it's just going to get hidden in the shuffle. I want mine to like be front and center, and I want people to see my response. You're going to hit at the bottom right, you see that return button on my keyboard? I'm going to hit that 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to start into an additional thread that's connected to the first. So I say pepperoni, right?
So these will post at the same time.
Correct. And so when we went, here, I'm going to go back on this screen.
So if you blew through your 500 characters, that
Yeah.
you could do that.
Yes.
but, yeah.
So it's hard to see, but right here, this was Nordstrom saying, anniversary sale, how does this make you feel, and only emojis. They responded to it, and they said, we'll go first. They did their emojis. So it connected their response to the original thread, but it's not hidden within the comments, right? It allows people to see directly what Nordstrom started. So that's what I just did right here, is I just hit, after my text, I did return 1, 2, 3, return 3 times, and then it got me there. But that's a really good point, is if I had more to say, I could use that to do an additional post. See, towards the bottom, right before my keyboard, it says, who can reply? You get to choose, can anyone reply? Can only the people I follow reply, or only people who are mentioned in here? So you get to choose if you wanted to limit that. In our case, we probably wouldn't. I think that this would be more so probably for celebrities who maybe get a lot of heat and a lot of comments within their stuff. It kind of allows them to monitor that. But for us, we probably want to keep it to everyone. All right, now, so that was the center button. The next button is the hearts, right? So this is new as of yesterday. They have now organized how your notifications. So this is all of my notifications, right? Right now I'm in all. Did I get new followers? Oh, we got a new follower. Follow us.
Jimmy too, the plumber's up there.
Yep. We've got you guys. I love it. So those are our new following notifications. If you've gotten any replies to any of your stuff recently, if anyone's mentioned you, you've got all of that activity. And I like now that it's organized, because before, when it was just everything in one section, it was a little bit harder. Love that, Jim. And do you notice right up here at the very top, it says Jim posted their first thread. So it's nice that you have that notification, so your followers can kind of welcome you and say, okay, now we know that Jim is here. So I can like it, I can comment, and I could say, let me hear you if you see this. I'm going to do a megaphone. Let's see. We see you, Jim, and then, there we go. All right. Perfect. So that was your activity, and then the far right is your profile, right? So I chose, when I set this up, I chose to keep everything that was on my current Instagram profile. I just wanted it to mirror the same thing. So my bio is the same, my name's the same, that URL. So I click on that URL, that's the same link that I use within Instagram. That's my link tree, my icon, my profile icon is the same. So this is my threads. They're all pinned here. So if at any point I'm like, you know what, I don't want to show this anymore, I can hit the 3 icons on the right and I can delete it, right? We don't really need that anymore. So we can delete that. Up here, I can go to replies. Sydney, this is kind of what your question was Do your replies show? Yes, but in like a separate section, right? So Threads, replies. Now, another thing, top right. See, at the very, very top right of my screen, there's the Instagram icon. If I click on this, that's going to take me directly to the Chicago Title Arizona profile account. So that's what I was mentioning, how you can kind of verify and make sure that is legit, that person. You come here and you say, okay, this is their actual profile. You can toggle back and forth. And at the very top, Chicago Title AZ, you see that little Threads swirly icon. I click on that, and now it's just brought me back. So you can go back and forth and view each person's profile pretty easily. Top left, the little globe icon, if I were to click on that, this is where you can change your privacy settings. So if I wanted to make it a private profile, I can toggle that. Any hidden words, people you've muted, blocked profiles, you can manage all of that within here. Any questions on the profile?
So you mentioned you couldn't really put a heart on the Chris Helmsworth thing, but if you had replied to it, you could find it in your short list of
Yes,
replies.
absolutely.
So like people used to do on Facebook, everyone would go, liked. Well, you don't have to do that on Facebook, and people
Right.
like 4 years later haven't figured that
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah, you're right. No, that's a really good point. That's kind of a workaround right now. Until they get that like
if you're
area where you
going,
can
I want to
save.
get back to this. Yeah.
Yep, that's a really good idea. All right, so that is your profile. I want to show you guys right below our bolded name, Chicago Title Arizona at the top. Right below it is our username, Chicago Title AZ, and it says threads.net. So what they're working on is creating a web presence. So it should be threads.net/Chicago Title AZ. That doesn't exist right now. So if I were to, I'm going to escape out of here, and I were to go to threads.net, this is threads.net right now. All it does is it just tells you to download the app. So they're working on creating a desktop website browser version of this. Hasn't been released yet. You have to use it on your phone, as I mentioned. But this is what it looks like if you do come across threads.net. I also would suggest following the Threads app account on Instagram. This is where they do talk about some of their new releases. So this one was yesterday, right? This were some of the new releases that came out that I was just telling you guys about. So yeah, on Instagram or on Threads, either one. Make sure to follow Threads. Follow Threads on Threads. It's like weird. But yeah, this is a really good spot to get some insight into what's changing and what's new.
On another subject,
Yes.
how do you post these straight across?
Yeah. So that's going to be a third-party app.
Okay.
I will find out the name for it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's an app where you like load in. I have it. Let's see. Where you load in all of your photos and we'll splice it. Let's say if you're like, okay, splice this up into 6 images for me, or splice it into 5. You get to choose.
Okay.
Here it is, right in the center, unsquared.
Unsquared. Oh, that's what it is. Thank you.
Okay, so lastly, what do I want to show you guys? Oh, I want to go back into Threads on the far right screen. I'm gonna just kind of close this so it's not distracting. The far right screen. I mentioned to you, if you have multiple accounts, it's hard to toggle back and forth. What I have to do if I want to get over to Lynn Sanchez, I have to actually log out. So top right, I have to hit the log out button. And once I log out, here in a second, then I have to log in to Lynn Sanchez. So you have to log in and out of the two. It already default saved my credentials. But yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt right now. You have to log out and then log in. You can't be in one or the other. Here's an example. My thread I did last night is I quoted Adam Mosseri's thread that he did talking about the new updates that came out, and I put my commentary on there. The chronological feed is back. Love that. If I wanted to share this, and I want to add this to my story. I hit add to story. This is what it looks like if I were to add my thread to the Instagram story. Right, I can't change what this looks like at all. Only thing I could do is I could put, are you on Threads yet? Right? So I could add things to this, but I can't change what that thread actually is. All right. Any other questions on kind of navigating this app? All right, well, I want to finish here with the last bit of my presentation. So let's present that. If in the past, if you've taken any of my classes, one thing that I've always mentioned is Meta or any other, if it's Google owns YouTube, if it's Microsoft owns LinkedIn, any other big social media platform, they like when you stay on their platforms, right? So Instagram doesn't want you going to Twitter. That means Elon Musk is making money. They don't want you going to TikTok. They want you staying in their platforms. The more that you're in their platforms, the more money they're making because they're showing you more ads, right? So by you staying and using all of Instagram's features and you're using your time there instead of Twitter, they're going to reward you in terms of reach, right? So if you're using all their things, they're going to make sure you get a better reach and you get more views. So that's when people are like, why should I take on another app, right? There's so many things that I'm already doing. Instagram purposefully made it really easy to use the two and be able to, share things one to another and go back and forth. They made it really easy because they want you to use it because they can make more money once they start putting ads in there. So by using it, it can help with the overall Instagram algorithm, okay? Now, I would say this was about 2 to 3 months ago. Instagram came out and they're like, we're going to just tell you like it is. This is how our Instagram algorithm works. Because there was lots of rumors of, oh, if you do this, you're going to get more reach, and if you do that. So they just came out and they just said straight up, this is how we rank all of our content, and this is how you can get more views. So with stories, and this is in order of importance from most important to least, but this is how they decide to rank stories. Number 1, the history viewing stories by the author. So if I commonly watch Sydney's stories, Sydney's going to be right up there. Do I interact with stories? So do I reply? Do I like any of Sydney's stories? If so, Sydney's stories are going to be at the top of my feed. So it's viewing, and then interactions, and then lastly, how close am I to her in general? Do I often message with her? Do I often comment with her? Am I tagged in her photos, right? So that's kind of the third way to manipulate that is you don't have the really pull on, is Sydney going to view my stories or not? I don't really have that control. But what I do have control of is my engagement with her. So if I'm making sure that I'm commenting with her, sending her messages, I can kind of manipulate that to where my stories will show up first. Kind of goes, that same model, that ranking, kind of goes the same for all of the different post types. We talk about feed. In order of importance, it's the history of your interactions and what you tend to like on Instagram. So if I tend to like a lot of things related to dogs, well then I'm probably going to see things with dogs in it towards the top of my feed. Information about the post. Is it popular and is there a lot of activity around it? If you've ever opened up your Instagram feed and at the top it's like a birth announcement or an engagement announcement, like the big things that are getting lots of activity because everyone's like, oh my god, congratulations, right? That's usually at the top because it has a lot of activity around it. Whether you're close with the person or not, just because it is trending, so to say. Information about the author of the post. Meaning, does Sydney, post a lot of videos? Do I consume a lot of videos? And then my interaction history with Sydney. Reels. Here's the ranking of Reels. Really the same thing. What am I interested on Instagram? If I'm commonly watching videos about, recipes, I'll probably get more recipe Reels. Information about the reel. Is that recipe related to, healthy food, right? If I'm on a healthy food kick, then I'll probably get that. Information about the author, my interaction history with the author. So you start to see that pattern here. And I can send you guys this after today. We can send you a copy of this PDF so you guys have all this. The Explore section, so that's another place where you can show up, is in the Explore. That's where you can go in and search and find new people and new things. How popular is the post right now? Your interaction history on Instagram, what you're interested in, information about the author, interaction history with the author. So those all kind of go hand in hand. But we have insights on Instagram, and you have insights for a reason. It's so you can analyze how your posts are performing. I want you to go in and look at these metrics, and if these metrics are falling short somewhere, think about how you can change that. Stories. All right, well, first and foremost, how many opens do I have? How many replies and reactions? If I'm not getting a lot of replies, maybe that means I need to make my stories more engaging. I need to ask questions. If I'm not getting a lot of opens, maybe I need to manipulate that ranking, talk more to Sydney, so that way she is opening up my story. Number 2, your feed. Look at, are you getting a lot of comments? Are you getting likes, shares? Are people tapping to your profile after the fact? Do they want to know more about you? If you're not getting a lot of that stuff, then maybe it's not valuable content. So you have to kind of rethink that and say, okay, if I were a consumer, would I be likely to share this with a friend? Do I think it's so valuable that I want to pass it on? If not, you maybe manipulate that. Reels, how long are they watching? Is your watch time slow? If it's maybe only 10% of your actual reel, then you need to change what that hook is to get their attention. Are people sharing it, or are they interested in that audio? Am I picking trending good songs? Lastly, for the Explore page, this is looking at your posts. Are people liking it, saving it, sharing it? So these are metrics that I want you guys to take a look at within your insights. See where you fall short, where you can do better at, and then you guys can kind of use some of these tools. Once you know how they rank these certain things, you can kind of change some things up to try to get more views. And that's kind of why I finished with this. Is Threads is part of your Instagram account. So you want to be using Threads to help show that you are being an active Instagram meta user. So that way your ranking can be a little bit higher within both apps. Any other last minute questions on any of Threads or Instagram or anything? Cool. You guys feel confident to use Threads? Yeah. Cool. I'm excited to see it. Like I said, there are new things coming out every single week. So just kind of, if you follow that Threads Instagram account, you will be able to, or Threads Reddit account, you will be able to kind of get the latest and greatest knowledge on what's coming out. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Just on time. Of course.
Do you have a class on Instagram?
Mm-hmm. So I will connect with Kelly. So like I said, I'm here at the 4th Wednesday of every month. And so we, right now we're kind of finishing out what my schedule looks like for the next quarter. I will connect with her and we'll plan out some classes. If Instagram is not my next one, because I think we have one scheduled for August, I will make sure that that is on the list for September.
Okay, or is there one on already, like a video class?
Yes, but I probably wouldn't recommend it right now.
Because my kids do Instagram, but I know
Yeah.
nothing about it really.
Yeah,
I'm on there to see my kids, that's it.
Okay, I could see,
And grandkids.
I can send you, or Sydney and our team will send you a recording. The only thing with the recording is these apps change so frequently that like some of what I said may be outdated. But I can look for one that's kind of more of like a starter one where some of that information probably is timeless. So we'll look for that. If not, I'll make sure that another Instagram account is on the schedule here within the next couple months. So, yeah. All right,
So
much.
Thank
Thank
you. I'm working on posting photos.
Love it.
From what
I'm so behind
Social
the
media is
times.
very intimidating, that's for sure. Yes.
It's a
Well,
hole you can get sucked into.
How fast it's growing too is just crazy. Yeah. Like also
I
on
mean,
TikTok
100
for
million
hours.
users in 5 days, like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But their goal is 1 billion, so
They'll get there pretty nice.
I think they will too.
Yeah.
I think they will. I mean, they know what they're doing.
Yes.
Okay, I have a side question.
Yeah.
My one son, his girlfriend is just addicted to social media.
Yep.
What is there anything like?
Yeah. So
Intervention?
yeah. No,
Seriously.
that's a good question.
She
So-
doesn't work. Oh my gosh,
Oh.
she's just addicted.
So Threads actually came
living
out
off my
with
son.
in their settings. Threads came out with something. Let's see. It is take a break. So in the account settings, there's something called take a break, where I can come in here and I can choose to get a reminder every 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and something will pop up on the screen where it says it's time to take a break. And you can kind of set. I mean, people can.
You can do
You
it
can
with
click
all
out of it,
social
say I'm not
media.
done.
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah, it'll like you can set.
But she's got to want to, huh?
Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct. Because my
She
boyfriend has it, and I
carries
see him
her
just text
phone.
it out. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Everywhere. Like, it's her binky. It's like she carries it. She's
Yeah.
on everything. She's
I
got
know.
YouTube switching to all these things, and it's just like, to me, ADD, because she's just, and it's an addiction.
No, it is. It definitely is an addiction. I always challenge when I see my loved ones doing that. I always challenge them on it, and I say, like, oh, like let's be present, going for a walk, or whatever it is. Where I'm like, we can just leave our phones behind, like, or I've got my Apple Watch, like we don't need the phone. It's nice if she has an Apple, you could challenge her to pull up her screen time in the settings. Like I did
That
that.
is so depressing.
I did that too with my boyfriend. I was like, I know that his is higher than mine, which is sad because I teach this all day. And I was just like, oh, my screen time is, let's say it's 6 hours. I'm like, what's yours? And he was like, I'm not telling you. Because it's a lot. And so once he saw it, he was like, oh shoot, like that's a lot of time. Like if you're awake for 16 hours a day and you see 10 hours you're on your phone, then it's like kind of like oh shoot. So then the rest of the night he kind of like put it aside. So I always challenge my loved ones to be like, oh, what's your screen time?
I don't even want to look at mine. Because like as soon as I'm home for the night, I'm just scrolling.
See, I'm the opposite because I'm in it all day long
yeah.
for work, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
get it away from me when I get home. So then I get irritated when others do it, and I'm like, pay attention to me.
Right.
Okay, so I did a post, and I thought I included photos on